The first thing Emma Caldwell noticed was not the town. It was the way the giant man did not move. Not a shift, not a blink, not even when the wind lifted dust across the street and rattled the wooden signs above the shops. He just stood there, waiting, watching her. The stagecoach wheels slammed into another rut, and Emma's shoulder hit the side hard enough to steal her breath. The other passengers cursed under their breath, but she barely heard them. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the window. 3 weeks on the road. 3 weeks of cold nights, stale bread, and prayers whispered into darkness. All of it leading here. Dry Fork. If you have ever stepped off a journey with nowhere left to go, then you know why her chest felt tight as she looked out at that single dusty street. This was not a visit. This was the rest of her life. The coach slowed. Boots shuffled. Someone muttered, "We're here." But Emma didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on that man. Tall. Too tall. Broad enough to block the light behind him. A dark hat pulled low, a face cut sharp by weather and time, a thin scar near his temple that caught the sun. He did not look like a man who needed anyone, and yet he had sent for a wife. Her stomach twisted. Emma lowered her gaze, pulling her small carpet bag close. $14 stitched into her hem. That was everything she owned. No family waiting, no place to return to. Just a name. Garrett Shaw. The coach door opened. Light flooded in. The driver's voice called out, but Emma barely heard it. Her legs felt slow as she stepped down onto the wooden platform. Her boot slipped. For a second, the ground tilted. Then a hand steadied her elbow. Large, warm, firm, but careful. She looked up. Too close now. Those eyes, they weren't soft. They weren't welcoming. They burned like something held back behind them. "Emma Caldwell," he said. His voice sounded like gravel dragged across stone. She nodded. Her throat refused to work. Something shifted in his face. Not quite approval, not rejection either. Something unreadable. The kind that made her want to step back and stay at the same time. "I understand if you've changed your mind," she said quickly. The words came out thin. "I can go back. I won't trouble you. I have enough to—" He took the bag from her hands. Just like that. No argument. No reassurance. "Garrett Shaw," he said. Then he turned. "The wagon's this way." Emma stood there for half a heartbeat longer. Then she followed, because there was nowhere else to go. The wagon ride stretched into silence, the kind that fills your ears until even the smallest sound feels loud. Wood creaking, leather shifting, hooves pressing into dirt. Emma kept her hands folded tight in her lap, her eyes drifting across the land. Endless grass, rolling hills, mountains far in the distance, their tops still white. It felt too big, too open, too empty, and yet something inside her loosened. Just a little. "You should know a few things," Garrett said without looking at her. His voice cut through the quiet like a blade. The air straightened. "Yes, I have a daughter." That made her blink. "She's 5. Name's Rose, a child." Her hands tightened. "I see. She needs someone. That's why you're here. Not for him. Not for anything else. Just a need filled." Emma nodded once. "I understand." He finally looked at her. Long enough that she felt it. "I'm not easy to live with," he said. "I work. I don't talk much. The ranch is far from town." A pause. "If you want to leave, I'll take you back. Pay your way. No questions." The wagon kept moving. Dust lifting behind them. Emma stared ahead. Back meant cold floors, thin blankets, girls who stopped hoping. She shook her head. "I'll stay." His jaw shifted once. Then he faced forward again. "Then we understand each other." The ranch came into view as the sun dropped lower. Emma's breath caught. A large house, a wide porch, a red barn standing strong beside it. Horses grazing. Land stretching farther than her eyes could hold. It didn't feel real. It felt like something she wasn't meant to touch. "You built this?" she asked. "My father started it." That was all he said. But something in his voice held weight. The wagon stopped. The door burst open before they could step down. A blur of dark curls raced toward them. "Papa!" The little girl hit him full force. He caught her easily, lifted her like she weighed nothing. And for the first time his face changed. Not softer, but different. Alive. "This is Miss Emma," he said. "She came to meet you." Emma stepped down slowly. The girl stared at her with wide hazel eyes. "Are you going to be my mama?" The question landed without warning. Emma felt her breath catch. Her eyes flicked to Garrett. He said nothing, just watched, waiting. The whole world seemed to hold still. Emma crouched down, met the girl's gaze. "I'm going to try," she said. "If you let me." The girl studied her, then reached out, touched her cheek with one small finger. "You're pretty," she decided. Emma let out a small breath that almost sounded like a laugh. It surprised her. She hadn't made that sound in years. The girl grabbed her hand. "Come on, I'll show you everything." And just like that, Emma was pulled forward, up the steps, into a life she didn't understand yet. Behind them, Garrett stood still again, watching, not moving. But this time, there was something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Something quieter, something heavier. And when Emma glanced back just for a second, she realized one thing. He wasn't watching a stranger anymore. He was watching her, like he had already made a decision he hadn't spoken yet. The first night, Emma did not sleep. Not really. She lay still beneath the quilt, staring at the wooden ceiling while the house settled around her. Wind slipped through the eaves. Floorboards whispered with each slow shift of the structure. And somewhere, not far, heavy footsteps moved once, then stopped. Garrett. He was awake too. She turned onto her side, pulling the blanket closer to her chin. This was her room now. Her bed, her life. But it still felt like she had stepped into someone else's place and hadn't been told how long she could stay. Morning came early. Rose's voice came with it. "Emma, are you awake?" The door opened before she could answer. Sunlight rushed in behind the small girl. Emma pushed herself up, blinking. "I am now," she said softly. Rose climbed onto the bed without asking. "You sleep very quiet," she announced. "Papa snores." A small smile touched Emma's lips. "I'll remember that." "Don't tell him," Rose whispered, as if sharing a secret worth guarding with her life. Downstairs, the kitchen felt bigger than she expected. Clean, but not lived in. Not recently. Emma ran her fingers along the table. No dust, but no warmth either. She tied her apron. Moved without asking permission. Flour, water, fire. The first sound that truly belonged to her came from the dough hitting the table. Garrett stood in the doorway when she turned. Silent. Watching. She hadn't heard him come in. "You cook?" he asked. "Yes." That was all she gave him. He stepped further in. Leaned against the frame. Didn't move closer. Didn't leave either. The air shifted. Not uncomfortable, but not easy. "Breakfast will be ready soon," she said. He nodded once, still watching. Then he walked out. The door creaked behind him. Emma let out a breath she hadn't noticed she was holding. The first week passed like a blur. Every hour filled. Every moment claimed. She cleaned rooms that hadn't been touched in months. Opened windows. Let air move through the house. She cooked meals that filled the space with smell and sound. Rose followed her everywhere. Talking. Laughing. Asking questions that never seemed to end. "Why do you braid your hair like that? Why do you fold clothes so neat? Why does Papa look at you when you're not looking?" That last one made Emma pause. "What do you mean?" Rose shrugged. "He just does." Emma said nothing. But that night she noticed. Across the table, between bites, when she reached for something, Garrett's eyes lifted, stayed for a second too long, then dropped. Like he hadn't meant to. Like he wasn't sure what he was seeing. Weeks passed. The house changed. It began to sound different. Laughter stayed longer in the rooms. Footsteps didn't feel so heavy. Even the evenings shifted. One night, Emma stood at the sink, sleeves rolled, hands deep in water. The door opened behind her. Bootsteps, slow. She didn't turn. "I wasn't expecting you yet," she said. "Finished early." His voice sounded lower, closer. She dried her hands, turned. He was right there. Closer than before. Too close. Her breath caught. Flour dust clung to her cheek. She saw his eyes catch it. Then his hand lifted. Slow, careful. His thumb brushed her cheek. Soft. So soft it made her chest tighten. "You had flour," he said. His hand didn't move right away. It stayed there, warm, then it dropped. Like he had remembered something. Like he had crossed a line he wasn't ready to stand on. Emma swallowed. Thank you. Neither of them stepped back. The space between them stayed charged. He looked at her. Not the way he had before. Not measuring. Not distant. Something else. Something harder to ignore. I'm not a good man, he said suddenly. The words landed heavy. Emma frowned slightly. What makes you say that? He looked away, jaw tight. I've done things. Silence stretched. I don't expect anything from you, he added. That made her move. She reached out. Her hand found his arm. Solid. Tense. He didn't pull away. Then don't expect, she said quietly. Just be. He looked at her again. Longer this time. Like he was trying to understand something he couldn't name. Upstairs, Rose called out. The moment broke. Just like that. He stepped back. Gone again. That night felt longer. Emma lay awake again. But this time it wasn't the house keeping her up. It was the memory. His hand, his voice. The way he had looked at her. Something had changed. She didn't know what, but she felt it. Days turned into weeks. Then came the evening everything shifted. The sun was dropping low, painting the land in gold. Emma sat on the porch, hands folded. Quiet. Garrett walked up slowly, stopped beside her. Didn't sit at first. Then he did, close enough that she could feel the heat from him. They watched the horizon together. No words, not at first. It's different here, she said. It is. Another pause. My mother used to like sunsets, he added. Emma turned slightly. That was new. You don't talk about her much. She's gone. Simple. Final. Emma nodded. Mine, too. He looked at her then. Really looked. Something passed between them, unspoken, understood. I should have been kinder, he said. The words came out rough. Emma shook her head. You gave me a place. You deserved more than that. She held his gaze. So do you. The words stayed there between them, heavy, real. His hand moved. Slow, careful, brushed a strand of hair from her face. This time he didn't pull away immediately. His fingers stayed, light against her skin. Her breath slowed. His eyes dropped just for a second, then lifted again. I shouldn't want this, he said. Then don't lie to yourself. That stopped him. He leaned closer, not rushed, not forced, like stepping towards something he had already decided on. Emma didn't move, didn't step back, didn't speak. The distance between them disappeared, and then hoofbeats. Fast, urgent. Both of them turned. A rider tore down the road, dust rising behind him. Garrett stood instantly, all softness gone. What is it? Emma asked. Trouble. That was all he said. The rider reached the yard, shouting before he even stopped. Rustlers. South pasture. Everything shifted. In one breath, Garrett moved. Calling orders, men ran. Horses were brought forward. Emma stood frozen on the porch, watching, understanding one thing clearly. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. Garrett grabbed his rifle, turned once, looked at her. Something unspoken passed again. Then he mounted, rode out. Dust swallowed him. Silence came back. But it didn't feel the same anymore. That night, Emma sat by Rose's bed. The little girl's fingers curled into her sleeve. Papa will come back, Rose said sleepily. Emma brushed her hair gently. Yes. But her eyes stayed on the window, on the darkness beyond it, on the road where he had disappeared. And for the first time since she arrived, the house didn't feel too big. It felt too empty. The first shot didn't sound real. It cracked through the morning like something breaking in half. Emma dropped the wooden spoon. It hit the floor and rolled, but she didn't see where it stopped. All she saw was the line of riders coming up the road. Too many, too fast. Snow had just started falling. Thin flakes drifting through the cold air, settling on the fence posts, on the roof, on the shoulders of men who didn't slow down. Garrett stepped into the doorway beside her. His face had already changed. Hard, still, like the man who had been waiting in town that first day. Take Rose, he said, quiet, firm, to the cellar. Emma didn't move. Emma, now! His eyes met hers. There was no room left to argue. Only time to choose. Emma turned, ran up the stairs. Rose. The girl came out, eyes wide. What's happening? Emma didn't answer. She lifted her, held her tight, carried her down, fast. The trapdoor opened. Cold air rose from below. "Stay here," Emma whispered. Her voice shook, but she forced it steady. "No matter what you hear, you stay quiet." Rose's small hands grabbed her sleeve. "Mama," Emma pressed her forehead to hers. "I'm right here." Then she lowered her down, closed the door, covered it. Silence for 1 second. Then voices outside, rough, loud. Emma straightened. Her hands trembled once, then stopped. She walked to the door, opened it, stepped out. Garrett stood in the yard, unarmed, facing them. 10 men, maybe more, spread wide, guns ready. At the front, a young man in a fine coat, smiling like this was something he had been waiting for. "Well now," he said, his voice carried easy. "Garrett Shaw." Garrett didn't move. "You got no business here." The man's eyes slid past him, found Emma, and stayed. Something ugly crept into his smile. "And this," he said softly. Emma felt it, that look. But she didn't step back, didn't look away. "Leave her out of it," Garrett said. His voice dropped lower, colder. The man laughed. "I don't think I will." His hand moved. Gun lifted. Pointed straight at her. Time slowed. Emma saw the barrel, dark, still, heard Garrett shout her name, felt the air tighten. Then a shot, sharp, fast. The gun flew from the man's hand. He screamed. Everything broke. Gunfire exploded from both sides. Emma dropped. Wood splintered above her. Snow kicked up around her. Shouts, horses, men falling. She pressed herself against the porch boards, breath shallow, hands shaking, but she stayed still, waited, listened. It didn't last long. It never does. The firing slowed, then stopped. Silence came back, heavy. Emma lifted her head, slow. The yard had changed. Men on the ground, others running. Boots crunching through snow, now stained dark. Garrett stood in the middle of it, rifle in his hands. The man in the fine coat on his knees, clutching his hand, bleeding. "Please," he choked. "I'll leave." Garrett stepped closer, stopped, raised the rifle. Emma held her breath. Everything hung on that moment. Who he had been, who he was now. The wind moved. Snow fell harder. Garrett lowered the rifle. "Get up," he said, flat, cold. "Ride." The man didn't wait. He scrambled, climbed onto his horse, and fled. The others followed. Gone, just like that. Emma stood. Her legs felt weak, but she moved anyway. Down the steps, across the yard, straight to him. She didn't slow, didn't stop. She hit him hard enough to make him take a step back. His arms closed around her instantly, tight, too tight. Like if he let go, something would be taken from him. "I thought," his voice broke. He pressed his forehead against hers. "I thought, I'm here." Her hands gripped his shirt. "I'm right here." His breath shook once, then steadied. He pulled back just enough to look at her, checked her face, her shoulders, like he didn't trust his own eyes. Then he kissed her. Not slow, not careful. Hard. Real. Like something pulled back from the edge. Snow fell around them, silent, covering everything behind. That night, the house felt different again. Full, warm, alive. Rose slept between them, one small hand resting on Emma's arm. The other curled into Garrett's shirt. Emma lay awake, but this time she wasn't alone in it. Garrett's arm rested across her, heavy, protective, real. "You should have stayed in the cellar," he murmured. "You should have taken a gun." He almost smiled. Almost. His hand tightened slightly. "I won't lose you." Emma turned her head, looked at him. "You won't." He studied her face like he was memorizing it, like he needed to. Then he leaned closer. His voice dropped low, rough, close enough that she felt it more than heard it. "I've held back long enough." Her breath slowed, but she didn't move, didn't step away. "I don't want to hold back any more," he said. His hand slid up her arm, slow, deliberate. "I want you." The words landed heavy, not rushed, not careless, certain. His eyes didn't leave hers. "I want to taste your sweetness right now." His voice dropped further. "And I'm not going to be gentle." Silence. Just the fire cracking low in the corner. Emma's fingers tightened in his shirt. One small movement. That was her answer. He didn't wait. Didn't hesitate. He closed the distance, and this time there was nothing left between them. Not distance. Not doubt. Not the past. only what came next, and outside, snow kept falling. Quiet, steady, covering every trace of what had almost taken everything from them. If this story held you, leave a like and share it with someone who believes that the right person can change everything. There's always another story waiting.